Greetings and welcome to our presentation on outsourcing. We are pleased you have selected our program to become acquainted with the importance of outsourcing to the purchasing function. As a purchasing professional, determining whether to outsource a product or function or to keep it in-house could be part of your function. This presentation will define and discuss outsourcing and the process involved in determining whether to outsource or not. The term outsourcing has been used a lot in recent years. Many organizations have spent a lot of hours and thousands of dollars studying the benefits and the drawbacks of outsourcing for the organization. When an organization outsources, they divest themselves of the resources to fulfill a particular activity to another company, to focus more effectively on its own competence. The difference with subcontracting is a divestment of assets, infrastructure, people, and competencies. Organizations can outsource functions, such as cleaning the facility and collections, or they can outsource manufacturing of products. There are even situations where it is beneficial to the organization to outsource an entire department. When the purchasing professional is evaluating the option of outsourcing a product, it can be for various reasons. One of the reasons can be that the organization can save money by outsourcing rather than producing the product internally. The purchasing professional has to be able to evaluate the cost of producing the item in-house and the cost of outsourcing to a supplier. The internal costs can range from manpower to machine maintenance. Therefore, as a purchasing professional, it is key to not only understanding what is the cost to purchase a raw material needed to manufacture the product, but also the cost of making the part internally. Outsourcing has become popular for many reasons. At one point, organizations may have looked at outsourcing as negative because it appeared to signal a loss of control by the company. But in recent years, outsourcing has been elevated to developing a partnership with another entity that may have strengths in areas that are weaknesses for the buying organization. By forming this partnership, outsourcing can help advance the competitiveness of the organization. This partnership can also allow the organization to service the customer faster, improve the quality of the product they supply, and reach strategic goals set forth by management. Management may sometimes give mandates to the purchasing professional to reduce or control costs for the organization. At this point, it may become necessary for the purchasing professional to find suppliers to replace some of the processes that are currently being performed internally. Understanding what is going to be involved in outsourcing the process or part is crucial to the success of outsourcing. Sometimes what appears to be the best idea about outsourcing can become the worst decision for the organization. Carefully following the process involved in outsourcing can assist a purchasing professional in researching every aspect of the attempt to outsource. The outsourcing process can be identified in 3 phases. Each with their own serves as a very different but equally important part of the process. Although these phases are defined in various ways by the experts in the purchasing field, they are best discussed by R. John J. Van Wiel in the book Purchasing and Supply Chain Management. The phases of outsourcing, as discussed by Wiel, are strategic, transition, and operational. Each phase represents certain steps that have to take place by the organization in order to successfully outsource a function or product. The strategic phase can be thought of as the why, what, and who phase. This phase is really looking at the objective of outsourcing. During this phase, the decision is made about what type of company will be sought after to outsource a product. Also considered in the phase is the question of why are we considering outsourcing? In order to outsource, the organization has to benefit. Another important question in this phase is, what are we outsourcing? The product being considered for outsourcing should be in alignment with the strategic goals of the organization. Once these 3 steps within the strategic phase are properly addressed and satisfied, the outsourcing strategy should be assessed and approved, usually by an executive manager, for this could sometimes fall within the purchasing professional's responsibility depending on the structure of the organization. Once the strategic phase is completed, the next phase is the transition phase. The key to this phase is having the understanding of who the main players are in the task. The contract has to be developed and agreements made. All of the details of what is to take place in the transition to the supplier and also when the transition is to take place. The purchasing professional has to be mindful of customer orders and when they are due to ship. The next step in the transition phase is to start the actual transition. After the dates are set, preparation should be made to transfer the task to the supplier. Sometimes this is as simple as stopping the production on one day and starting it at the supplier's facility the next day. But sometimes, this process is more technical and involved. There may be a need to transfer machinery, tooling, or even employees. If this phase is not done adequately, it can affect the organization's ability to support the production schedule of the customer's demand. The final phase of the outsourcing process is the operational phase. This phase takes place once the supplier has started making the part or performing the service for the buying organization. The operational phase requires a purchasing professional to be involved with the supplier. The relationship between the supplier and the buying organization has to be managed throughout the life of the project. The supplier has to be evaluated from time to time to ensure that they are performing to the standards of the contract between the two companies. The buying organization should also monitor the health of the supplier's business. This can be done by periodical audits, on-site vendor evaluations, or visits to the vendor's facility to view the manufacturing of the product they are supplying. There are times when the outsourcing process will be discontinued. When this is the case, the buying organization should have a process for contract termination. Many times, the termination is due to the life cycle of the product ending. There is no need to continue making a product when there is no customer demand. When this is the case, the termination process may not be as definite as a part that is being discontinued and replaced for an improved product. First of all, when the life cycle of the product is ending, the production is generally drastically reduced. Therefore, the supplier has already experienced a reduction in required parts to make. Critical to the supplier, however, is whether or not he or she will be producing the replacement part or not. If the supplier will be producing the new part, the transition phase and the operational phase will be approached again. If, however, the product is being discontinued and not replaced, the termination process must take place. Thus far, a lot of the discussion about outsourcing has been geared towards manufacturing. There are other situations when the purchasing professional can be involved in outsourcing. One area that is very popular when considering outsourcing is janitorial or building services. When considering outsourcing these services, the same three-phase approach should still be used. The strategic phase is very important. When looking for a supplier to outsource these services, understand the competence of the organizations being considered is important. The size of the potential supplier's staff has to be considered, along with the organization's bonding and insurance coverage. Questions such as, is this insurance enough if there is an accident at your facility? Or, if an employee of this supplier decides to illegally take property from the facility that belongs to the buyer's organization, will it get replaced by the supplier's bonding insurance? These questions are an important part of the assessment. The transition phase may be a little less involved. Using the same janitorial and building services example, the transition may be as simple as setting the last day for the current supplier and the start day for the new supplier. Also, the operational phase will be very similar to the manufacturing process. It will be important to maintain an adequate relationship with the supplying organization and to evaluate the performance from time to time. Outsourcing has become a common practice for many organizations. It is important for the purchasing professional to be involved in the outsourcing process. Organizations decide to outsource for many reasons, ranging from cost savings or increase in productivity. Whatever the reason is for the decision to outsource, it must be followed by three important phases: strategic, transition, and operational. When the interest for outsourcing arises within an organization, it is important that the outsourcing strategy aligns with the strategy of the organization. Thank you once again for your time and attention, and this is businesstraining.com, where you can earn a master's level qualification to make more money.